of Palestine on the occasion of the 76th anniversary of the occupation of Palestine, which is named Nakba or Catastrophe Day. Let me begin my speech by describing the latest situation in Palestine. The ongoing conflict in Palestine has become extremely severe, with recent reports showing more than 35,000 lives tragically lost, 77,000 more injured, and around 7,000 people missing. Over 100,000 Palestinians have been displaced, leading to a severe refugee crisis. Immediate action is needed to provide basic services like healthcare, food, and shelter, and to restore stability in the region. Discussing the changing dynamics in the Middle East, especially regarding the Zionist regime of Israel, it's crucial to consider the internal political instability. The internal chaos would be further complicated by legal international actions within the country, including possible orders to arrest high-ranking officials within the government. Those developments contribute to a sense of political turmoil and uncertainty, casting a shadow over the government of the Zionist regime. Despite internal challenges, Zionist regimes attempt to establish diplomatic relations with some regional countries aims to improve its geopolitical position, although the effectiveness of these efforts remains to be seen. The April 14th Iranian military response to Turok-Karamis operation marked a significant shift, challenging Zionist regime to perceive invulnerability by penetrating the Iron Dome defense system. This act underscored Iran's military capabilities and shifted regional strategic calculus, boosting Palestinian morale and highlighting vulnerability in Zionist regime military response. The Israeli airstrikes on Iran embassy in Damascus had killed 7 Iranian officers as well as 6 Syrian civilians, including a woman and her child. Following the operation, Iran warned Zionist regime against taking any action and urged other parties not to involve themselves in the conflict, because Iran was trying to not to accelerate the tension in the region and just keep the peace and security in the region remain. Furthermore, the operations launched directly from Iranian territory into occupied lands was a bold assertion of Iranian military strength. It underscored Iran's ability to defend its security beyond its borders and directly engage with Zionist regime from a distance. Domestically, within Zionist regime, the operations led to a decrease in the popularity of the government. The Zionist regime inability to foresee or effectively counter the operation led to a surge of criticism and dissatisfaction. Finally, the operation revealed the vulnerability in Zionist regime's military response capabilities. The Turok-Karamis not only challenged the legend of the Israeli military might, but also exposed the limitations in Zionist regime's strategic responses to sudden and well-coordinated attacks. Overall, the Turok-Karamis operation by Iran has left a lasting impact, reshaping perceptions and strategies in the region by altering the balance of power and the nature of conflict between Iran, Zionist regime, and the broader Middle Eastern context. Iran's broader geopolitical strategy emphasizes on stability and diplomacy, advocating for peaceful conflict resolution and regional cooperation. This approach aims to foster economic and security partnership, enhancing regional integration and unity. By creating a network of cooperation, Iran aims to promote collective gains for all involving parties. The path to lasting peace in the region requires respecting democratic aspiration and supporting framework that respect Palestinian rights to self-determination. Dialogue with Zionist regime under the current circumstances seems fruitless as past reports and resolutions have been consistently disregarded. Commitment to democracy and human rights is essential not only for the peace process, but also for building a society that respects the diversity of its people in the region. In conclusion, addressing the dire situation in Palestine and the broader Middle Eastern conflicts demands an immediate and comprehensive international response. The tragic toll on human life and the displacement crisis underscore the urgency of humanitarian aid and the stable solutions. Meanwhile, the internal political struggle within Zionist regime exacerbated by Netanyahu's dwindling support amidst controversies and legal challenges complicates the region's dynamics. The True Promise operation vividly demonstrated the shifting power dynamics, revealing vulnerabilities in the Israeli military defenses and boosting regional support for Palestine. Iran's approach of fostering diplomacy and stability through peaceful conflict resolutions and regional cooperation offers a constructive pathway forward. However, achieving lasting peace hinges on democratic aspiration and the rights to self-determination of Palestinians, underscoring the needs for commitment to democracy and human rights in all discussions and solutions. I just made it very short because I am here to just hear from the other knowledgeable colleagues and participants that are present in the meeting, and I will enjoy to listen to you. And if there is any question or any comments, I will be ready at the certain time that I am going to listen or answer any questions. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. His Excellency Mohammad Boroujerdi. I think that Mr. Boroujerdi have already give him his speech that was clear enough for us. And maybe for all the participants who have question about anything on this webinar, please drop your comment on the meeting chat section, or you could raise your hand after all of the speaker have already give their speech. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. His Excellency. Please wait for the Q&A section after this. Okay, so next, Mr. Kiai Haji Miftah. Uh, is Mr. Miftah is present?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Yeah,
wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, so next, Mr. Kiai Haji Miftah Rahmat. The times is yours.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum ayuhan nabi warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi salihin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon to everybody's watching, and special thanks to His Excellency Mr. Mohammad Boroujerdi, the Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran to Indonesia, and my brother Zaid Ali, journalist who's been involved in Middle East issues, and to all of you, dear participants. I put a Palestinian flag behind me just to show you, just to mention, just to highlight what the ambassador has mentioned. The webinar itself, the topic is Iran rising power in the Middle East. To my knowledge, Iran came as a rising power, started from the Islamic Revolution back in 1978 or 1979, when the late Imam Khomeini, rahimahullah, proclaimed the last Friday of every month of Ramadan as an international day of Al-Quds. When Iran voiced out its support to Palestine in 1978 or 1979, if I'm not mistaken, 8 months after the victory of Islamic Revolution. We could imagine the country in turmoil, a country in changing, regime changing and everything, facing a lot of hardships, difficulties of transition. And Imam Khomeini voiced out the independence of Palestine 8 months after the victory of the Islamic Revolution. To me, that is the point of Iran came as a rising power in the Middle East. Ever since, every last Friday of month of Ramadan, even during the Iran and Iraq war, the show for Palestinian independence never stopped up until today. And it gained more and more supports throughout the year. So when Huntington in 1993 pointed out a clash of civilization between what he called no longer between countries, but between cultures or ideologies, I think Samuel P. Huntington also was late in predicting what could have happened in the future. As Iran stood out and taking his role as the voice of the voiceless, the voice of the oppressed, especially the Palestinian cause. It is that seed that has grown now into what we know now as, or as the Western media call it, the axis of resistance. The seed started back, to me, from the day Iran proclaimed itself as a supporter of Palestinian independence. And we could hear from His Excellency's remarks how it stood still up until today. The power shows what we call power is a bargain between controls, how one side wants to deal with Palestinian issues and how the others want to try to find a way out. And there are some key factors to it. According to some theories, for example, up until now, I think it's been 45 years since the Islamic Revolution, and it is very hard. Iran faced so many sanctions, embargoes, limitations here and there, and we could imagine how a country is built within these limitations. We probably facing 45 years of sanctions is not that easy. One may ask, what could be the key factors? What could be the reason behind its survival? 45 years under siege, and we all could see, if I could correct the title of this topic, probably it is not Iran, the rising power in the Middle East, but could be Iran, the rising military power in the Middle East. Because we talk about this after the attack, Iran attack to Israel. And this rising military power is built up within sanctions, within so many limitations. And we all know how many American military bases surrounding Iran right now. There are many in Iraq, in Saudis, in Qatar, in Afghanistan, in surrounding Iran. To which these all military bases was supposed to be the strong point or the strong keyhole for the Western interest, right now could be seen as their weakest point, because the range of Iranian artillery, Iranian missiles, we know now have been able to reach Israel, let alone those military bases that are near to Iran. So what once were a strong base now could be easily targeted by Iran. So what are the key factors within this rising power or rising military power? Knowing that Iran has been sanctioned for so long with all these limitations, of course, His Excellency would have his own point of views, but let me point out some of my own perspective. One of them is the belief. Iranians believe in Islamic teachings that in some of statesmen from Iranian leaders, Iranian supreme leaders, or even before, they believe that the country is not theirs. The country belongs to the awaited savior of mankind. I need to point this out because it gives a sense of spirit, a sense of purpose, a sense of waiting for the Iranian nation. And Your Excellency, you are free to correct me anytime. Because in one of the interviews by the late, the former President Ahmadinejad with BBC, the BBC said that Iranian leader believe in some superstitious thing, which is the coming of the savior of mankind. But me personally, I see it as a sense of purpose for the Iranian nation. In their own words, Mamlikate Imam Mahdi. So they believe that the nation is not theirs. The nation belongs to someone they are waiting for. This belief rooted so much deeply in the Iranian people. That is why also has been echoed the second strength of Iran is, of course, its leader. We cannot and could not see any other leader of the world 45 years running right now, the supreme leader of Iran, with such strength, such wisdom, such capability during all these hardship and times, and you could not even hear one single thing about him, about his family, for example, how the Iranian people love the supreme leader, etc. Well, what I am trying to say is the leader gave the sense of not only purpose, but love between the people. Yes, there are many oppositions. There are, of course, many dislikes within Iran itself or from the Iranian living abroad. But you could see this strength, why it stood as power in its people, by the number of martyrs that have fought for their countries. I often said that forgive me for saying, this is in Indonesian terms, but I'm going to say it in bahasa Indonesia just for this one sentence, which is, di Indonesia kita melihat banyak gambar tokoh pada waktu pilkada. Di Iran kita akan melihat banyak gambar tokoh yang adalah syuhada. That's the difference. So some Western journalists even said that Tehran is a dead city because all of the streets are named after the martyrs. So it is a dead city, not only a dead city, a dead country. Every airport, every city, every town hall, every centers named after the martyrs. To me, this is the strength. Like one martyr, and you could imagine how many members of his families or her families, not only from Islam, but also from other religion. As Christians, they are Christian martyrs. The supreme leader often has become a regular tradition. During Christmas, he will visit the martyrs from the Christian families. So you could imagine, even though there are dislikes, there are protests, as we could see in Iran, and it always blew up into world issue whenever there is protest in Iran. The late one was unfortunately dealing with women issues, for example. Yet, within the Iranian society lies the love for martyrdom. That is like a flaming spirit that gave them the power, gave them the willingness to sacrifice, gave them the whatever it takes to respect what the martyrs have done for them. Even the love for martyrs is symbolized and eternalized in their own national anthem. In the national anthem, they mention the sacrifice for the martyrs. So this is to me also the reason behind their strength, the love for martyrdom. And yes, there are so many critics to the government. Every time in Iran something happen, it will always blow up. The law turned out in the election, the parliament election, just few weeks ago. Everything could become a major issue in the world and could affect all of us, actually. When Iran stood now as the new rising military power, proved themselves, their capabilities, not only their capabilities, not only their weaponry, their arsenal, but a friend told me that Iran has showed the Islamic way of warfare, which is they only hit military targets, didn't cause any civilian casualties, civilian fatalities. So not only they won by arms, they also won by hearts. This is a new level of power, I think, that should not be taken lightly, because had there been any civilian casualties, the Israelis would most likely have published it already. They didn't publish it up until now because there were none. And it hit only military targets. And the Israelis certainly will not publish the damage caused by the Iranian artillery to their target. And how the Israeli response, we could see up until now. Iran stood firmly and ready. So it is a new rising military power. Unfortunately, though, the Iranian bombard Rafah for now, expressing maybe their anger or how they express their loss. And this is really homework for every Muslim leaders, for all of us. So once again, there are three factors to me behind the Iranian nation. One is its leaders. Second one is their love for martyrdom. And the third one is the belief that gave them a sense of higher purpose. They believe in the coming savior of mankind. We may agree, we may disagree, but this serve a purpose. This give them a purpose. And the announcement for this webinar, I think, started with the wait is over. Finally, the International Political Forum's back, etc., etc., etc. Well, for the Iranian nation, it is not. Iran is the nation in waiting. And this what gave them power. This what gave them a sense of purpose, a spirit of revolution. In social theories, revolution could caused by great men or great events. And Iran constantly give them all to the people. So the spirit of revolution needs to be nurtured. And there are at least two reasons: great men or great events. Great men could be seen from the leaders of the countries or from the martyrs of their countries. For example, the martyrdom of General Syed Qasim Sulaimani. You could see millions of people flock in the streets to pay their respect, to pay their tribute to the general. And in Indonesian terms, esa hilang dua terbilang. So a person is gone, but 1,000 other came to replace him. And these great men have been preserved through all this time, from the start of the revolution up until today. Perhaps they thought by bombing the Iranian consulate, the Iranian embassy in Damascus, they would like target 7 or 8 military figures, but at the same time, they gave the opportunities for the rise of many, many more like them. So they are great men, and sometimes they are great events. These two key factors that will lead to one nation's strength, either great men or great events, and Iran continuously providing them both, great men and great events. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brother Zaid Ali. Assalamualaikum. Thank you very much, everyone. Inshallah, I'll see you back in the Q&A. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Kiai Haji Miftah Rahmat, for your presentation. Okay, for the last speakers and presentation in this webinar event, Mr. Zaid Ali. Can you hear me, Mr. Zaid Ali?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Clear
All
and
right,
loud.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe for the next presentation, Mr. Zaid Ali, the place is yours.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, allow me to apologize for joining a bit late to this event, but alhamdulillah, thank you very much to the organizers of the webinar from our friends at International Politics Forum for inviting me to this webinar. I would also like to send my greetings and my respect to Mr. Ambassador and also to Mr. Kiai Haji Miftah Rahmat. My name is Zaid Ali, and I'm a journalist based in Jakarta. And I specialize on analyses, especially in Middle East or West Asia, now we say, yeah? West Asia events, so geopolitics, political events in West Asia. So I also host my own show, weekly show on Maula TV, live show, and also an analysis, a sort of editorial show on Mala TV, which can be accessed on YouTube. Today, my first, presentation or lecture would be about the role that Iran plays in the region. So if we talk about Iran's influence in the region, we see that especially in the past few decades, we see a very rapid rise in Iran's influence. We see a very rapid rise in Iran's development from a military standpoint, from an economic standpoint. Anyone who visits the Islamic Republic of Iran will be very much surprised at the contrast between what we expect the Islamic Republic of Iran to be like and what we actually see. So in many ways, we can, if we compare, for example, to our own country in Indonesia, we might say that our own country is behind in many aspects. And this, we're talking about development, we're talking about infrastructure development, we're talking about, a social situation and so on. In the past few decades, we have seen a very rapid development in many aspects for the Islamic Republic of Iran. Also, we're going to talk about the regional influence of Iran, especially with regards to what is commonly referred to as the axis of resistance. The Republic of Iran, Islamic Republic of Iran, especially since its inception, since the Islamic Revolution, has been at the forefront of what we say Islamic struggle. This has been visible from, for example, Iran's role in supporting Bosnia, for example, back in the 90s. And now we see it a very much prevalent ever since what is so-called USA's war on terror, especially after the attack on Iraq. And so today's world, you can see in many ways, especially in terms of resistance groups like Hamas and also Hezbollah, is radically different from, say, in the early 2000s. So Iran's role in this so-called axis of resistance is central to what is commonly assessed as its regional influence. So from an American standpoint, a Western standpoint, Iran, so the resistance groups which are members of the axis of resistance, groups that like Hezbollah, like Hamas, and also like Ansarullah in Yemen, and also the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, is commonly seen or not seen, is commonly portrayed as proxies of Iran, which is not true. Yeah? These groups are not proxies of Iran. These groups are not controlled by Iran. These groups act on their own volition. These groups attack on their own initiatives, coordinate themselves, but Iran plays a central role in giving, we would say, an ideological basis for the Islamic struggle. This is very central to Iran's role in the Middle East, and is also very central to why the United States of America sees Iran as a threat to its hegemony in the Middle East or in West Asia, because the Americans' policy so far has been to mostly control resources like oil and so on, to topple what they call dictatorial regimes that may be threatening to their own policies in the Middle East. Countries like Libya, for example. We saw what happened to Muammar Gaddafi. We saw what happened to Saddam Hussein. He was not useful anymore to the Americans, and so they toppled him. They've been trying to topple the Islamic Republic for a very long time, since its inception, but it has not been successful at all. In fact, from the inception of the Islamic Republic until today, we see the Islamic Republic of Iran is very much, many times, multiple times more powerful than it was before. And so in many ways, from a resistance standpoint, from an ideological standpoint, we can call this the Iranian miracle. They like to say the Japanese miracle, the Singaporean miracle, the Korean miracle, and Iran is the Iranian miracle, because we see what it has achieved politically, economically, since the Islamic Revolution, in the face of layers upon layers, hundreds upon hundreds of economic sanctions, embargoes, and so on. In fact, these pressures that have been put upon the nation of Iran has actually backfired to the Americans. What we see, the Islamic Republic is self-sufficient today in many things. In fact, food, and then we have energy and so on. Whatever happens around the world does not affect Iran very much, because it has developed its economy, its capabilities to a level of self-sufficiency. And so there are many things that we can learn from the Islamic Republic of Iran, especially from us in Indonesia and other countries in the world. What we know, what we hear, what we see about the Islamic Republic is, you can say it is a toned down, a censored version of the truth, really, because what reaches us from the media is very much controlled directly or indirectly by Western mass media, because nowadays our own media here in Indonesia, for example, we do not have very many correspondents and journalists based abroad, really, let alone Iran. We don't have very many correspondents who report directly from Iran to report on the events, the situation there, especially when we talk about the recent events, terrorist attacks, and so on, the sanctions, economic sanctions, how it affects the people in Iran. We do not have a unique perspective on these aspects because we do not have people there. We usually just copy paste, we copy from news outlets, Western news outlets like Reuters, AFP, AP, even BBC and CNN and so on. We do not have our own perspectives on that. So that is what we hear about Iran is a dumbed down version of the real event. So there is really very much to learn from the Islamic Republic of Iran. And so let's delve into what we have been seeing as with regards to Iran's foreign policy activities as of today, especially with regards to Palestine's struggle for liberation, and also vis-a-vis Iran's normalization efforts with its neighbors, particularly the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And so we see that in terms of Palestine, from the inception of the Islamic Republic, from the Islamic Revolution, we have seen an unwavering, a consistent support for Palestinian liberation, not just in rhetoric, not just politically, not just in words, but in action, and not just supporting, for example, the Palestinian state. The Palestinian state, as we see today, is led by the Palestinian Authority, for example. We see Iran supporting all resistance groups in Palestine, be it Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, even the Marxist Palestinian Front, a popular front for the liberation of Palestine. And so all of these resistance groups in Palestine send their thanks to Iran, appreciate Iran's role in training them, in arming them, and so on. This is a level of support that we do not see from any other country, really. Yeah. Even the Muslim countries who support Palestine, probably from a political standpoint, from economically, giving aid and so on. The Muslims give lots of aid to Palestine, but the Muslim countries do not arm Hamas. They do not arm PFLP. They do not arm the PIJ. They do not arm the Palestinians. They do not give training, military coordination, and so on, to the level of what we see being given by the Islamic Republic of Iran. So in terms of in terms of the policy, Iran's policy towards regarding Palestine is really, it can be said that Iran regards Palestine as, itself, really. What happens to Palestine is what happens to Iran. This is in the minds of the Islamic Republic of Iran. We see, as it should be from an Islamic standpoint, because we know Muslims would know. Yeah. We've probably heard, for example, the saying, the hadith from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he said that Muslims are one nation, one body. If a part of the body hurts, the whole body feels the pain. And this is what we see happening. This is what we see with Iran with regards to its policy towards Palestine and the Zionist state of Israel, which is its enemy, which is the enemy of all the Muslim Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, does not see Israel as a legitimate state. So there is no discussion about two-state solution and so on. And being out of this fold of two-state, which is the so-called official stance of the United Nations, allows Iran to explore more creative, more fair solutions to the Palestinian issue. And let's look at its relations with neighboring countries. I mentioned earlier about Iran's relationships with its neighbors. In particular, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we see normalization efforts going on, which is good. We saw the relations cut off many years ago after the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's execution of Ayatollah Sheikh Nimr, and we saw a wave of protests which ended in the shuttering of Saudi Arabia's embassy in Tehran. And we saw only recently a mending of those relationships mediated by the People's Republic of China. Some people, maybe from an ideological standpoint, will ask, what's going on? Why is Iran normalizing relationships with this despotic regime, maybe? Why is Iran improving relations with this genocidal regime of Saudi Arabia? They've committed genocide, they've committed war crimes. In Yemen, we see that Iran is improving its relationships with its neighbors, as it should. All countries should have good relations with its neighbors, especially Muslim neighbors. And we see that Iran's opposition to the crimes committed by Saudi Arabia, by its neighbors such as United Arab Emirates and so on, are based on their policies towards United States, really, because the United States of America is the main entity behind whatever war crimes are being committed by the Saudi Arabians, by the United Arab Emirates in Yemen, until today even, because this comes from a realization. You realize that behind these humanitarian crises being committed by Saudi Arabia, by United Arab Emirates, even those committed by the Zionist state of Israel, the United States of America is the main force behind it, because as is repeated many times, Joe Biden can stop all this with one phone call, but he doesn't. He decides to just let it go, to support, to prolong it. So it is right when Iran says, or Said Hassan Nasrallah of Hezbollah says that we hold the United States of America responsible for whatever humanitarian crisis happens in the region. Now, let's take a look at the mending of relations with neighbors, as opposed to the ideological basis of the axis of resistance. So I guess you can say that Iran's support, Iran's patronage of the axis of resistance is based on ideology, whereas Iran's mending of the relationships with its neighbors come from a sort of a pragmatic standpoint, because who wants to have bad relationships with their neighbors, because that would bring up all sorts of needless problems in terms of economy, in terms of logistics, in terms of political support on the international arena. I mean, you don't need these kind of problems. So once again, Iran focuses its struggles, resistance struggles, the axis of resistance struggles on America. Really, this is why Iranians, if you have seen Iranian protests, if you have seen Iranian Friday prayers, people are standing up and yelling, death to America and so on. We hear that America, they say that America is the great Satan. America is the great Satan. Is not Israel is the great Satan. It's not Britain is the great Satan. It's America is the great Satan. So it comes back to that opposition of American policies, especially in the region, in the Asia, West Asia. So what we see happening lately really is intertwined between the rise of Iran as a regional power. Yeah. This is intertwined with actually the decline, the degeneration really, the degeneration of American stranglehold in the Middle East. They tried to take over with Al-Qaeda. They tried to, create chaos with the rise of ISIS, Daesh. Yeah, they tried to create chaos with trying to destroy Yemen. They tried to create chaos trying to destroy Syria, trying to destroy Libya, with what they did in Egypt, really, installing, protecting dictatorships and so on. This is America's work. They've been running crazy really ever since what happened in Iraq, and since they went even more crazier, this is what happened. We saw blowback. We saw Iran intensify its resistance strategies. We saw they expand their network. We saw they improve their military technologies to what it is today. The more the Americans pressure the Iranians, in fact, the stronger the Iranians become. This is what I like to call the Iranian miracle. Now, I would like to continue to what we say here, pathways for resolution, resolving the Israel-Palestinian conflict, resolving I don't really like to call it the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I like to say it's more fitting to call it the Palestinian struggle for liberation. Iran, as I said before, Iran does not recognize the legitimacy of the Zionist state of Israel. And so it addresses this so-called conflict from that standpoint. You do not recognize the existence of Israel. You do not see them as a legitimate party. In fact, they are regarded as a cancer, as a foreign colonizing force, displacing the indigenous population of Palestine. And so any approach to that would come from that standpoint. And what we see being proposed by Iran is actually a brilliant idea with regards to this Palestinian situation, which is the referendum. The Iranians said that the best solution for the Palestinian situation would be to just run a referendum, with all the Palestinians, whether they are in Palestine or as refugees abroad in other countries. They should decide what happens to the Zionist state of Israel, what should happen to the Zionist state of Israel. Then that would be the solution. Whether the Palestinians want to live side by side with the Zionists, or whether they want to, have a right of return and still live side by side with the Jews, or they want to remove the Jews, remove the Zionists altogether from the historic land of Palestine. This is for the Palestinians to decide. And so Iran's approach in this situation gives sovereignty, returns sovereignty to the people of Palestine. They are the legitimate inhabitants. Only Palestine is the legitimate state there, not Israel. And so they should be the ones to decide, not the world, not even the United Nations, the countries of the world. It's not for us to decide whether the Palestinians should live side by side with an Israeli state in a two-state solution based on 1967 borders or whatever. all of these developments come from an unfair, really unjust basis. And so the only justice is to return sovereignty to the Palestinian people, whether they are in Palestine or abroad, to decide for themselves what they should do, what should be done, you know, to what should be done to the Zionist state, how should we address the issue. And so I think that would be my first presentation for today. I would like to thank the organizers, and I would like to give the mic back to the moderator for today. Thank you very much, and be happy to talk to you in the question and answer sessions later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zaid, for your really comprehensive share with us. Okay, after all of this conversation and the presentation for all of the presenters, now we move to our next agenda, which were Q&A section. So before we start to read the question from the meeting chat, I would like to start from the raising hand first. So to everyone who'd like to ask directly to the presenter here, please raise your hand. So here's already 3% who already raised their hand to ask directly their question to the presenters. So maybe first I would start from Mr. Labib. Okay, Mr. Labib, please share your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the moderator giving to me opportunity. I want to ask to the Mr. Ambassador, His Excellency, Mr. Mohammad Boroujerdi. First of all, I'm so amazed about the Iran, even though there's many sanctions from the Western countries, but Iran are still survive, and there's many development from Iran. I'm so amazed from the Iranian development itself, from the country like economy and like military equipment. It is for my first saying. And the second is talking about the Palestine. I think it is not only about the religion, but also it is about humanity. I think almost of the human in the world against about the Israel what have done about the genocide to the Palestinian people. And my question is, Iran, I think, in my opinion, as far as I know, I saw in the social media after the Iran attacked the Israel, and I think there are many almost of the Muslim like about what Iran done, because there are many Muslim people annoyed what Israel done, because they have they have been supported by the USA, So all of the world, even talking the UN, don't do anything, didn't do anything at all. So I think there are many people around the world, especially Muslim, like for the Iran decision to the, I mean, like, yes, revenge of what Israel done. And I think Iran has is suitable with the UN article in 41 article, because Iran defends itself because the Israel attack the consulate in Damascus, Syria, So my question is, there are many people in the world worrying it will be worst case, because Iran has good relationship with the China and also the Russia. It means like the opposite of USA. USA is the alliance of the Israel. So my question is, how do Iran manage to decrease of the tension in the Middle East, and also still supporting about the Palestinian? So, Mr. Ambassador, I ask you, how's the manage to maintain the peaceful condition in the Middle East? Because you have a great cooperation with China and Russia, and Russia has balancing power with the USA. So it is like my question, but we have to support to what we do the best for the Palestine and Iran has did it like support military equipment to the Hamas and the Houthi and also the Hezbollah. I think it is very good from my opinion to the Iran. Thanks for having me, moderator. I give to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Labib Sharif. Maybe we would collect all of the question first for three questioners. So maybe next we would like to move to the next questioner, Mr. Febri, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. As one of the young generation with a keen interest in current international affairs, I would like to draw attention to the ongoing heated conflict between Iran and Israel. Please forgive me if my question appears rather straightforward. Here's my inquiry. What steps does the Iranian government plan to take in the future to realize the topic of our webinar today, which is Iran, the new face of the Middle East, considering the significant challenge and obstacle ahead, particularly from countries supporting Israel that may not be inclined to see Iran's grand visions realized. Thank you very much, and please forgive me if my English is not good enough. Thank you, moderator.
Sorry, Mr. Febri, but could you please repeat your question because your sound is not clear enough for us.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, as one of the young generation with a keen interest in current international affairs, I would like to draw attention to the ongoing heated conflict between Iran and Israel. Okay, please forgive me if my question appears rather straightforward. Here's my inquiry. What step does the Iranian government plan to take in the future to realize the topic from our webinar today, which is Iran, the new face of the Middle East, considering the significant challenge and obstacles ahead from countries that supporting Israel that may not be inclined to see Iran's grand vision realized. I mean, how is Iranian government plan in the next step to realize the new face of the Middle East?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Febri. Yeah.
Excuse me for interruption. I think it's better for you to write down your question in chat box so it can give us opportunity first to understand your question and second to answer it properly. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, I already forgive me, Mr. Ambassador, but I would like to inform that I already write down every question that's already asked by all of the questioners here. So maybe after we already done with the question collection, we will re-inform about all of the question. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. So maybe the last questioner will be Mr. Aldi that already raised his hand first. Mr. Aldi, please give your question. Mr. Aldi?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me, could my voice be heard clearly?
Yes, it's clear enough.
Yes, my question will be directed to His Excellency. Salam, His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador. Greetings from Jakarta. I have a question regarding how does Iran maintain a balance of relationship between neighboring countries, and what is Iran's stance towards Israel? Thank you, and peace be upon you, Mr. Ambassador.
Okay, thank you very much for your question, Mr. Aldi. So there's already three people who asked the question to all of the speakers here. The first one is, how do Iran manage to decrease the tension on the Middle East despite the role of Iran as the peacekeeper of Palestine? Maybe this one have the same or have a correlation with the third question, which were also how does the Iran government hold their tension with the Middle East despite their act as the Palestinian peacekeeper? So the second question is, what step that the government of Iran will do to achieve the Iran rising power in Middle East? So the second questioner asked about the Iran government plan to for the Iran nation of being the rising power in the Middle East. So that's all the question that maybe could be answered by all of the presenters here. Maybe first from the Mr. Ambassador, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I just want to show that I want to make sure that everybody has my voice. I thank you all, everybody, for the good questions and even you I just want to emphasize the reality that
Apologize, His Excellency, but your voice is not clear enough. Thank you very much.
okay. How is the voice right now?
Yes, it's much better, sir. Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to emphasize on the reality that the source of the instability in the region is the Zionist regime of Israel, not Iran. You know that in the past 200 years, Iran did not attack to any of their neighbors or other countries, but you can see that during the last 70 years, Israel has started 20 big wars in the region. So you can see the main source of the instability and unrest in the whole region. The role of Iran is to try to decrease the tensions in the region and try to just solve every tensions in the region peacefully. We try to solve any of the problem in the region because we never had any problem with any country. We did not cut our relation with any of those neighbors. With their, you will witness that for some reasons they just cut the relation with us. And then they just establish their relation with Iran again. So we are just trying to have a very peaceful and calm and stable region in the Middle East, and we are trying to have the good cooperation with all the neighbors and all the countries. About the Zionist regime of Israel, one of the questions was about the two-state policy. I always tell that when we are talking about two-state policy, that there is two states. For Israel, for Zionist regime of Israel, there is no two-state. We can see an occupied land named Palestine and a group that occupied the land. So I always ask my friends, what happens to you if someone occupies your house? Do you speak with them with co-ownership of the house? You tell them just stop the occupation, and after you stop the occupation, we can talk about everything. For the peaceful solution for Palestine, we always talk about the democracy. We ask why democracy is good for all the countries, but we don't have this prescription for Palestinians as well. Because Palestinians have the right of their self-determination as well, like any other nation in the world. So just let the Palestinians come together, stop the occupation, and just let them to participate in a general election, and just whatever they choose, we accept them. We don't challenge any kind of solution like two-state policy or one-state policy or anything else. We just tell to the world that please let the people of the Palestine, regardless their religion, regardless their races, and any other grouping and any other, reasons, just they come together and they just elect what they like. They just choose what they like. This is their right. The Palestinian, including Muslims, Jews, Palestinians, and others, for once in the history, one must come together and choose what kind of government they like to have. So this is the solution that we think that works for Palestine. But the problem nowadays is that nobody cares about their want, their will. They just say they just talk about the security of the Israel, that Israel is not a government. I saw inside the questions about the relation between Iran and access of the resistance. I tell you that in Iran constitution, like Indonesia, we must support all the resistance groups that they have been occupied by some occupier. So this is the reason that we support all of them. We don't support Hamas or Israel Hezbollah or Jihad Islami or others. We support all the resistance groups in Middle East and broader, just in all over the world. Any country that has occupied by some others, we are just against occupation of the other lands. So we believe that the occupation must be finished, the ceasefire must be set, and after that, we let the people who just move by force from their lands to come back to their lands with their own will. If anybody don't want to come back to Palestine, it's up to them. And let them to choose what they like for their own country. You can see what happens in the Palestine. Palestinian, they have the Palestinian passport. But who are the Israelis? Who are the Zionist regime people? All of them, not some of them, not many of them. All of them, they have at least two passports. Most of them are Europeans, some of them are Americans, some of them have come from other parts of the world, but they are not real Palestinians. So if we are going to try to have a peaceful solution in the region, we must think about the democracy. This is I think, first question is how Iran handles to decrease the instability in the region. You saw that immediately after the airstrike of the Zionist regime of Israel to the Iranian embassy in Damascus, Iran invited all the parties, including the United States and others, not to be involved in the attack and in the region. So, but they were interfering with that we were witness. The point that shows Iranian power about the Shuro promise operation is, that 10 countries were just following the missiles that were going from Iran. 4 of them tried to just stop them. And after that, after they just asked this kind of countries, they were reached to the so-called Iron Dome. And after that, some of them has passed the Iron Dome as well. So you can see that 10 countries tried to stop these missiles in the way, but they were not successful. And after that, even the Iron Dome was some kind of imaginary island dome. So there was no dome there, and I tell you, around 300 Iranian missiles were gone to the occupied lands, and many of them has reached the land. So you can see that if they were 3,000 instead of 300, what happened at that regard? Because the missiles, the defense missiles of Israel were finished at the end of the mission. I'm not going to talk about the operation. I'm just thinking that from the beginning of this situation, we always try to invite everybody, all the neighbors, and even non-neighbors countries, that we are going to just respond to Israel. I emphasize here that it was not an attack, it was a response. And after that, we told everybody that we are going to hit Israel at 1:20 a.m. on 14th. And after that, we did that. So everybody, all the parties, we were aware about even the exact time of Iranian attack, but nobody could stop them. So we tried to have the good relation with the neighbors. We tried to just decrease the tension in the region, but we are not going to stay and watch what they are going to do. They attacked our embassy, and it was our right, as my friend told, that we defend ourselves. And also, I tell you, the night that Iran responded to the Zionist regime was the only night during the last 8 months that no Palestinian child was killed. This is what we are talking about. If Israel is going to be stopped by the discussion, by the negotiation, by the resolution, it would happen before. But it did not happen so far because Israelis are not going to obey any kind of resolution or any kind of laws or international laws or anything. So that's the reason for that. And I think I almost answered the second question as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Boroujerdi, for your answer on the question. So next to Mr. Kai Haji Miftah Rahmat to answer the question. I would like to recall again about the question. The first question and the third question is correlated. They asked about how do Iran manage to decrease the tension on the Middle East despite the role of Iran as the peacemaker of Palestine. And the second question is what step is the Iranian government will do to achieve the Iran rising power in the Middle East on your perspective? That's all the question.
Thank you. I think His Excellency has answered all the questions perfectly because he's the most suitable person to answer. And this is a rare opportunity for all of us. If there's still some time left, please ask His Excellency as many questions as you like. This is a rare opportunity. His Excellency has answered all the questions. I would like only to point out since the very beginning, I say that Iran is not the rising power now. Iran rose to power, quote unquote, once the late Imam Khomeini, rahimahullah, declared the support for Palestine for the very first time. 8 months after the victory of the Islamic Revolution, Imam Khomeini declared the International Day of Al-Quds. And it gave, once again, it gave the Iranian nation a sense of purpose. We do also as Indonesians, we even quote it in our preamble constitution. The first sentence was, independence is truly the right of all nations, and therefore colonialization in the world shall be abolished. It is not in accordance with humanity and justice. It is our first sentence in our constitutions. So when Iran is doing what it is doing right now, just like what we are doing with our constitutions, actually. So this unwavering support for Palestine gave the Iranian sense of purpose, gave the Iranian the great events they need to nurture the spirit of revolution, gave the Iranian the love for martyrdom, and at the same time also, in every activities, even during the Iran-Iraq war, there was a saying that the road to liberation of Al-Quds is through Karbala. So once again, Your Excellency, forgive me and correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm saying is, even in daily activities, even when Iran has a war with Iraq, the support for Palestine never stops. So that when Iran is considered a power, Iran is not considered a power, forgive me for saying, Your Excellency, Iran is not considered a power economically. For example, you could ask His Excellency how much is a dollar now in Iran. For example, so Iran is not considered a power economically or culturally or even regionally. No. Does Iran have influence over neighboring countries in terms of their national interest? No. To me, no. So Iran is considered a power because of its wavering support to the Palestinian cause. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mr. Rahmat. So maybe next we will move to our last speaker here to hear what his answer on the question. Please let me remind about what question. First, the first question and the third question is correlated. They ask about how do Iran manage to decrease the tension on the Middle East despite the role of Iran as the peacemaker of Palestine. And the second question is, what step is the Iran government will do to achieve the Iran rising power in the Middle East for the next after this occasion? Thank you very much. So please, Mr. Zaid Ali, to answer.
All right, thank you very much for those questions, Mr. Moderator. So regarding the first question as to how Iran can play a peacemaking role while it is supporting Palestine, actually, this is a sort of a strange question because it comes from a perspective that you imagine that there would be peace between Israel and Palestine. Now, this is not going to happen. You cannot have a peace between a colonizer that came from foreign countries. They came in from Europe and so on. These people came from Europe, came from Africa, came from Russia, came from Central Asia, came from New York, Brooklyn, and they come to steal your land. So there's no making peace with these people. So you know the you want to make a peaceful sort of a peace situation in the Middle East is by getting rid of the cause of conflict. The cause of conflict in the Middle East, or I like to say West Asia, is really the existence of the outposts of United States of America, especially its right hand, which is the Zionist state of Israel. So there's the only way. You can do whatever. You can do anything you like. You can try to make peace with your neighbors and try to have as many peace treaties as you like. Peace treaty, Camp David, whatever. It is never going to end in real peace because every peace treaty throughout history in the past couple of decades has only ended in loss of land and increased belligerence of the Zionist state of Israel and even the United States of America. It has not brought any kind of peace to that region. And so the only way to bring peace, really, people might say different things from a diplomatic point of view, right? But the only real way to bring peace to the Middle East is to get rid of the United States of America, get it out. I mean, we get back to what point that Ustad Miftah said a few minutes ago. Colonization must be erased from the face of the earth. This is in the preamble of our constitution. And so the only way to achieve peace, lasting peace in the world, is to get rid of colonization. And so Israel is colonization. Israel is the embodiment of colonization. There is no indigenous entity there. We had Jewish communities living in Palestine, historic Palestine, for hundreds of years, thousands of years, right? But it was never a sort of a Jewish state as it is today. And what we see today are, illegal immigrants that have been made legal by the settler colony state. And so the only way to bring peace is to get rid of this settler colony state, to get rid of really United States of America, its outposts, its colonization activities in the West Asia region, including its outposts in Iraq, in Saudi Arabia, in Syria. If they were built on the basis of trying to control the region as opposed to establishing good beneficial relationships with the countries in the region. And so this is really the standpoint of the policy that we have seen being applied by the Islamic Republic of Iran, by its military, the Revolutionary Guards. These are the efforts made by the late General Qasem Soleimani. In reality, that is the basis. The colonization must end. Hegemonic activities must end. The exploitation of nations must end. This is how you can achieve peace in the region, in the world, really. And this is the basis as to the basis of Iran's policies in bringing peace in the Middle East. How it can be achieved through all kinds of ways, military, diplomatic. Really, the basis is that how to get the Americans out, how to end, how to dismantle the Zionist colonial regime. And the other question was about how the government can make Iran a power in the Middle East. Was that the question? Yeah.
Yes, that's true, sir.
Yeah. As opposed to what our Ustad Miftah Rahmat has mentioned before, I would say that Iran is, first I would agree that Iran is already a power in the Middle East. But I would also like to add that Iran is actually an economic power. Iran is a military power. This is why the Americans are threatened by Iran. This is why the Americans, try all sorts of kind of different ways to try to topple the regime and the mullah regime. They try to they sponsor all kinds of terrorist attacks in Iran. If it wasn't a threat, then they wouldn't be doing all kinds of these things. They wouldn't be trying to pressure Iran through sanctions upon sanctions. So this is actually proof that Iran is a power, is a political power, is an economic power. Iran can shut off the whole, then can bring oil markets in the world to a standstill just by closing the Strait of Hormuz. So yeah, I would say Iran is a very powerful nation, not just in the region, but I would say really, really, it is a rising power in the world. There are many cases, many journalists, many analysts would say that the rising powers in the world, in the multipolar world today, are Russia, China, and Iran. Always these three nations. No, they don't say Russia, China, Indonesia. They don't say Russia, China, India. They don't say Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, or Turkey. No, it's Russia, China, and Iran. These are the new triumvirate, so to say, that has become the new powers in the multipolar world. So I would say for the government of Iran is already on the right path, and to establish themselves as a true power. All they need to do is just to get back to the principles of the Islamic revolution, to improve the relationships with their neighbors, with the rising powers in the world, with Russia and China, with the BRICS countries, and because really the world of America has fallen apart, the Western world has fallen apart, and so Iran is the new rising power with China, with Russia, with the BRICS nations, really. So they should just, get back on track, get back to the Islamic revolution, really listen to the leader, the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and they will, and keep to their struggles. Whatever, whatever they're doing is already on the right track. I can't say anything more than that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all of our speakers for the very comprehensive presentation and very comprehensive discussion on the today's topics about the iron rising power in the Middle East. That turns out not only talking about the Iran as the rising power, but we also talk about the concern on the peacemakers process here with of Palestine and at any other occasion. So I would like to give my thanks as the representation of International Politics Forum first for His Excellency Mr. Mohammad Boroujerdi, sorry for my pronunciation, and for Mr. Kiai Haji Miftah Rahmat, thank you very much, and for Mr. Zaid Ali, thank you very much, and to all of the participation. I would like also to thanks for your attendance and the very enthusiastic discussion that we have here. And also, please accept my deep apologize due to the time that we have. It's not we should to terminate our discussion here. So thank you very much. So that's all the discussion and webinar that we hold today. Last but not least, I would give your never-ending thanks to support this discussion. That's all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Just, can I add one or two sentences, please?
Sorry, sir?
Can I add one or two sentences, please?
One of what? Sorry, I couldn't hear you clear.
Can I add one or two sentences, please, before you terminate the discussion?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to thank my brothers, Kiai Haji, Mr. Miftah, and also Mr. Zaid Ali for the very good discussion. They are experts, and I am not. I'm a man of diplomacy. So I just wanted to add to my friends' comments that Iranian power is something that we receive from the sanctions. You know what do you do when you want to have a better or more powerful body? You don't go to bed and sleep and just eat more. You just go to the mountain climbing or running or swimming or a sport or others. So when the sanctions happened on Iran, it was not good, it was severe, it is very hard nowadays also, but it made us more powerful and powerful not only in the military aspects. You know that Iran nowadays is one of the most powerful economies of the world, and it's just within the 30 most powerful economies of the world. And also, Iran is one of the 4 countries, the best ones in the many new technologies like nanotechnology, biotechnology, healthcare technology, nuclear technology, even agriculture technology and others. And you know that we are exporting a lot of healthcare new technology equipments to even Europe and Asia and even Indonesia. We are exporting the surgeon robot to Indonesia, you know that. So I just wanted to thank my friends that helped us in the discussion, and also all participants, and also you, sir. Thank you very much, all of you, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah jami'an wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Salam.
Thank you very much, Mr. His Excellency. Okay.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Miftah, do you have any one or two words?
I would just like to say one quote by an American writer, and I think that has been motivated the Iranian people. The quote was, and with that I conclude, living well is the best revenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miftah. And last, from Mr. Zaid Ali, do you have any speech or anything that you want to share to us before we terminate this meeting?
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to thank and send my appreciation, deepest respect to Mr. Ambassador and Ustad Miftah, and also to give my support to all the participants of this discussion. And also, I just like to remind y'all never to stop boycotting the Zionists. Free Palestine, and long live the resistance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr.